This is the pattern. And if you want a pocket on the inside, you can also copy this piece, which is going to be the pocket inside. I am using a heavyweight woven cotton fabric, and as you can see, I have folded a piece of the fabric in the grain line, and I laid the pattern on the fold, and then I cut. This pattern has all the seam allowances included already. Repeat this on the other side, so we get two pieces from the outer fabric, and then I'm going to repeat this also in a thinner woven cotton fabric, which is going to be the lining fabric. This is how you make this nice pocket inside. I cut this in the fabric that is a little bit thinner, and I cut it on the fold. This is how it should look if you have all the pieces. On this pocket I'm going to make a notch where the fold is going to be, and then I fold the pocket so I get the right sides in. I pin this curved piece, and then I'm going to sew, but I do not sew close to the foldings. There should be an opening there, and I sew with a straight stitch and 1 centimeter in seam allowance. Once you have that, you need to make small pieces as you can trim away from the seam allowance. And then you turn the right side out and you press it. Make sure that all the seam allowances are inwards. Then you can sew a straight stitch with 1.5 centimeter seam allowance. Cut an elastic which should be shorter than the pocket's opening. With the help of a safety pin, you can insert the elastic. Make sure that you pin the edge, and then you can decide how much ruche you want at the opening. Then you can sew the elastic fast at the sides. Make sure where you want it to be aligned on the inner fabric, and then you just sew a straight stitch close to the edge on the outsides of your pocket. Make sure that you back stitch close to the opening. Lay the bag right sides together and sew the bottom and the sides. Do not sew on the corners. Sew with a straight stitch and 1 centimeter in seam allowance. Try to press the seams apart, and then you should do like this in the corners. Align the seams so they are right beside each other. Sew the corners with a straight stitch and 1 centimeter in seam allowance. Repeat this on the outer fabric so you get 2 bags like this. If you want a closing mechanism like this, you should cut a piece that are 8 centimeters times 30. But if you have a thinner fabric than you can have 5 times 25. And it also depends on how big buttons you're going to use. Fold it and make sure that you have the right sides together, and sew this long side. Do not sew all the way out. Now you can fasten a safety pin, and you can turn this piece with the help of this safety pin. Cut an elastic that is shorter than this piece and insert it. Make sure that you pin it at the edge and that you continue on so it gets little bit ruched. Decide what kind of buttons you're going to use, and then you sew the shorter edges. In the center right sides together you can pin this piece edge to edge. And as you can see, I have one of the bags with the right side out, so I can take it on the inside of the other one, and now you have them right sides together, and you pin the edges edge to edge. You can sew with a straight stitch and 1 centimeter in seam allowance, but you should not sew all the way up towards the short edge. You should leave openings for about 3 centimeters from the top. On all the curved edges you need to make notches in the seam allowance. If you have a thin fabric, you can turn the right sides out through these openings. But my fabric is quite thick, so I need to unpick an opening on the lining fabric in the bottom. And then I turn the right sides out. Now you can think about what kind of a bag you want. I'm going to sew the front together like this, so I get this kind of handles. But if you do the back towards the front, you get another kind of a bag. So I pin the front pieces right sides together. Only the outer fabric should be pinned together and sew with 1 centimeter in seam allowance. Now you should take the lining fabric and lay that also right sides together and sew with 1 centimeter in seam allowance and a straight stitch. Try to press the seam allowances apart, and then you can turn everything on the inside. Now you need to make sure that all the seam allowances are on the inside, and you can pin the sides. You should press the bag and make sure that all the edges look neat and tidy. Then you can make a top stitch close to the edge all the way around the top of the bag. I'm going to make a reversible bag, so I'm going to sew buttons on both of the sides, but I'm going to use two buttons, one smaller and one bigger on both sides, so I get the distance between the buttons so it will easily close. So I sew through one small and one big on both of the sides. You need to sew at least 6 or 7 times, and then you need to fasten the thread, and once you have done that, you are finished with your bag. Please visit my Patreon, where you will find all these patterns and more. My Patreon is called Sew for Kids.